Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hi Jinkx with me, Jinkx Monsoon. I love bringing you new episodes of Hi Jinkx every week here on Forever Dog and Moguls of Media. Now, before I get started, I have an important favor to ask you all. Forever Dog has put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your opportunity to tell us who you are and what you're interested in. It shouldn't take long at all. Just visit foreverdogpodcasts.com/survey to participate. That's FOREVERDOGPODCASTS.com/survey. We appreciate your feedback. Now let's start the show. Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to a brand new episode of Hi Jinkx with me, Jinkx Monsoon. Today, my guest is Harvey Fierstein, who you will know from countless vocal appearances, countless TV and movie appearances, a star of Broadway, a writer, a screenwriter, a playwright. Harvey Fierstein is a pillar of the I said P. Harvey Fierstein is a pillar of the LGBTQ plus community. And I can tell you, I have not laughed this much in an interview, probably ever. I think Deborah Wilson cracked me up if you caught that one, but Harvey really tickled me today, and I think you're going to love our conversation. So hunker down and sink your teeth into some new Hi Jinkx.
Forever Dog.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to Hi Jinkx, a podcast where I, an internationally tolerated drag superstar, get to interview compelling and fascinating people about how they became who they are and why they do what they do. Today, we are joined by actor, playwright, screenwriter, 4-time Tony winner, and advocate and pillar of the LGBTQ plus community, Harvey Fierstein. Hi, Harvey.
You're going to ask hard questions. I'm going home. You already think you're going to ask why. Cookie, there is no simple answer to why other than because it feels good. But otherwise, there's no answer to why.
You're already off book, Harvey.
I'm off book.
Hi, Harvey.
Hi, Jinkx Monsoon.
There we go. We got it. We got a clean take.
Hi,
don't worry.
Monsoon.
I'm not Barbara Walters. I'm not gonna. This isn't gotcha journalism. You lead the conversation.
Barbara can't do gotcha journalism anymore. She can barely get her gotchas on. Do you speak Yiddish?
I dabble.
Do you know what Gotkas means?
I don't know Gotkas.
Oh, because they just made me take it out of Funny Girl. Gotkas. No, they did. Did you know that Fanny Brice was Jewish? So I put in, and I've rewritten Funny Girl. That's opening on Broadway.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. In March.
Well, I think in
April. March,
and it doesn't matter.
Spring. Let's just say spring.
Spring. So yeah, unfortunately they can't see the hand gestures that go with these ballet moves, but
they can hear it in the voice.
They can hear it in the voice. But yeah, so when I rewrote the script, back in the 60s, people didn't really want to be Jewish. They would like chop off their nose. Well, like everybody thought Barbra Streisand would never be a star because she had that long name, and they'd like say, well, you couldn't put a long name like that up on a marquee. They didn't mean long name; they meant Jewish. They meant Jewish. So we didn't, even in Fiddler on the Roof, no one speaks Yiddish or Hebrew at all. So anyway, so I stuck a little Yiddish in, just when she's talking to her mother or whatever. And one of the words I stuck in, when she's auditioning for Keenies, I have Keenie say, "Hey, you in the blue Gotkas." which means blue underpants. And the owners of the rights said,
Is there other Yiddish that made it in, or did this one just
yes.
get cut because it's not as universally known?
No. Well,
because they didn't say it on Seinfeld.
They didn't say it on Seinfeld. Kibitzing, I think, made it in. Mitchgering made it in. Hamisha made it in. Yeah, we got some Yiddish in there. So I changed Gatkes to unmentionables. That's very period, right? That would be that would be like Fanny
Your delicates, your dainties.
in the 1930s. So you never seen a girl in her unmentionables before. Take a good look. So anyway, that's
And
that's
you were
my life.
You were raised Jewish yourself, yes?
I was raised from an egg. Yes, and a Jewish egg it was. Yes, I was raised Jewish. I was raised, actually, when you read the book, you'll see on one corner of my block, I was from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. You know where that is? That's where Ralph Cramden lived, the Honeymooners. It's where Welcome Back, Kotter takes place, and Saturday Night Fever. That's all Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. That's that area of Brooklyn. That's where I'm from. And so on one corner was the Yeshiva of Bensonhurst. On the other corner was the JCH, the Jewish Community House, which is like the YMCA without priests looking in your ass, in your underwear. And so I was Jewish centric. It was like unescapable.
Harvey, I want to just take a moment to say, like, as a queer person I've known I was queer my whole life, essentially. And, when you're a young queer person and you're kind of feeling like the odd one out, you look for little things along the way to remind you that you're not alone. And your voice, just being able to talk to you and hear your voice in my earbuds right now.
Yes. Yes. People who hear my voice, they say, "Oh, I thought I had a lousy voice. Now I feel normal. Now I could like sing opera compared to you."
It's just kind of mind-blowing because it's like your voice has been there with me my whole life. I remember being a child seeing Mrs. Doubtfire in the theaters and just remembering the moment of realizing, oh, they're gay, because you didn't see it in movies very often, certainly not like family-friendly movies. You didn't see the gay uncle and his partner getting the dad into drag in any other movie. And so to have such an iconic voice and be such an iconic person, it's just kind of mind-blowing to be sitting here in Seattle on a laptop hearing Harvey Fierstein talk directly into my ear, And I didn't have to buy you a drink or wine you and dine you.
I'm sending you a bill, but that's okay. But it's okay. It's okay. I take it out in trade. I'm easy. I'm old. I can't run fast, so I'm easy. But that's really very nice. And of course, look at that! My ear thing's falling out. See what happened? I'm too old for ear things. When you've been around as long as I have, which is, since at least Thursday, I grew up with gay people as well, and I had my role models. I knew Harry Hay, the founder of the Mattachine Society. I knew those people back in the day. I was too young to go to bars, but I went to a lot of the GAA meetings and stuff like that. And I had all those people to thank. But my first gay people were in community theater.
Yeah.
And
that's where they were.
Yeah, they were at the community theater on Beverly Road and Church Avenue. And the thing was that the gay people I knew were all very happy. Like the director of the theater and his lover had been together 30 years. So I didn't find out. I mean, I knew there were queers and stuff like that, but I didn't know what that actually meant. But as far as gay people, I didn't find out we were supposed to be unhappy until I started reading plays or seeing movies. that said, "Oh no, we're supposed to be lonely and unhappy." Because the gay people I knew were kind of happy and having a good time, and they were all at the community theater making. Oh, they had a wonderful casserole. Those two queens used to make this casserole. I swear to God, this is what it was. It was baked, a layer of baked. This thing must have cost like $2 to feed 86 people. It was a layer of baked beans. On top of that, a layer of cut up hot dogs. Over that, slice of pineapple slices, whole pineapple slices.
Okay.
And then on top of that, then a layer of American cheese.
Oh wow!
And you baked that, and that was
Bake it till it's brown and bubbly.
It was, and that was a party in a casserole dish.
You know, if you hadn't mentioned the pineapple, I would say that sounds like a very straight casserole. But then you got the pineapple in there, and it becomes a gay casserole.
Yeah, so we have Pineapple Princess. You have to do at least 2 choruses of Pineapple Princess to eat that. No, I think it was just that it was so cheap and it was easy to make.
So, mentioning, you know, the plays you read and the movies you saw, giving you the idea that gay people were supposed to be unhappy and
Right.
tinged with a sense of tragedy, would you say that motivated the work that you created to show a different side of things, to show your own experience?
Sometimes it did. Sometimes it's just you use your own life. You just say, well, I don't know what they were talking about, and use your own life. But well, I'll give you an example of where it did. There was a children's book, and I hope the child who wrote it forgives me for saying all this stuff. I actually say it in the book also, so it's way too late to get an apology. But he wrote a book called Oliver Button is a Sissy. And it's a children's book. And the whole thing was that Oliver Button liked to sing and dance and all that. And everybody called him a sissy until he did the school show. And he was so good that everybody went, Oliver Button is no sissy. Oliver Button is a star. And I said, fuck you. Fuck you. Oliver Button is maybe a star, but he's still a fucking sissy. So I sat down.
2 things can be true.
Well, and often are. I'm looking at your hair and the color that it is right now, and I know there are 2 things can be true. So I wrote the Sissy Duckling specifically in answer to that, where when at the end they say, he's no sissy, he says, excuse me, I am the same sissy I always was and proud of it. And it's, so yes, so sometimes you do answer back shit that you saw, but it's hard to answer back, like Staircase. I don't know what plays, but like it's an old English play called Staircase or Tea and Sympathy, and those kind of things that just showed us to be just unhappy and miserable. And then of course in American movies, even when we were there, we were just the best friends. We were the sort of unhappy best friend or the best friend.
The novelty thrown in there for a catchprise, and to support the female lead in her endeavors to find love. When
I did my version, when I did the adaptation of Kinky Boots, the black transvestite didn't have a love interest. And I said, well, why does the heterosexual one get 2 love interests and the gay one doesn't? So I said, you know what? I don't really have time. There's too much story to tell. I don't got time to have another love interest. So I made him heterosexual instead. So I made him a heterosexual transvestite instead, and had him flirt with all the girls instead. Because it's nice that heterosexuals can't get laid too.
Ever the champion for equal rights.
Truth in journalism, right? Jinkx, we're in for truth in journalism here.
So you mentioned The Sissy Duckling, which is a book you wrote, a children's book, and now it's
also an HBO special.
Oh, really? Do you voice the Sissy Duckling?
Yes, I do. Oh, it's a fun cast. It's a fun cast. Dionne Warwick sings all the songs. And I play the Sissy Duckling. Estelle Getty plays my teacher in school. Kathy Najimy is my mother. Ed Asner was my father. Dan Butler is the Butch Duckling. Um, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cast.
It's an all-star cast. We won the Humanitas Award for it from the Catholic churches.
Congratulations. You're no stranger to winning awards. You've been around a while. You've been raking in awards the whole
Those
time.
are two different things. Being around a while is a whole different thing from winning awards. Usually,
you've had time to accumulate.
Yeah, well, it's being around gets you into the clinic, and winning awards gets you into parties. Two different kinds of tickets.
So you have the children's book, but now you have a memoir called "I Was Better Last Night," and read the listeners can't see it, but just a quick Google search, and
Yes.
It's a lovely book cover, and you talk about your life experiences, and you've had quite the life, Harvey Fierstein. I mean, being you portrayed gay characters on television and in films and on stage in the 80s when, we're talking 40 years ago, and we're just now getting to the point where there's enough representation that we, like you were mentioning it in the beginning days, we were just the best friend, just the sidekick, always tinged with sadness. Then we got all the way to now queer people are being presented as heroes, and now we are all the way back to now we can be human beings again with
but
flaws.
you always know that you always know a gay character is going to be a hero if it's played by a heterosexual. Because them heterosexuals they'll be tragic, but they'll be the tragic hero. Because them heterosexuals love to win awards for sucking dick. It's like they will not kiss on screen. You'll never catch two heterosexuals kissing on screen, but they will suck a dick. They'll take one up the ass for an Oscar. I'll take it for an Oscar.
Because I was gonna wonder about method actors.
I think that was one of the campaigns for Brokeback Mountains. We'll take it up the ass for an Oscar.
Career began with you. Well, I shouldn't say began, but when we watched the Barbara Walters interview,
that was my career was already ending by then. Oh, Cookie.
A lot of things started for you off Broadway, performing in drag.
Off Broadway. Well, because a lot of showbiz books that you read. We'll start with, and then my mother took me to see a Broadway show, and I looked up at the stage and said, I'm going to be up there someday. Well, that was not my life. That was not me. I never wanted to be an actor. I never wanted to be a writer. I never wanted any of that stuff. I didn't really know what I wanted. I just, there's a philosophy I go by. Mm-hmm. And here it is in a nutshell. Life doesn't get better if you say no. Life is only as exciting as the times you say yes. All day long, people call you up. You want to go for coffee? You go, nah, I'm doing something. You want to do this? Nah, nah. And mostly we say no. We do. That's just the natural thing. We don't even realize we're saying no. When you say no, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. When you say yes, it's not that the world is going to change, but the possibility is there. Something can happen. So I'm in art school because they figured I was autistic.
They figured it out.
Well, they figured I was autistic. I think that's what they called it in the 50s. He's autistic. Put him in art school. So I was in art school. And one of the girls said, my mother's starting a community theater. Would you like to come to the church and help make posters? Because we learned how to letter in art school. So my friend Michael and we said sure, and we went to the basement of this church and we're making posters. And because I was high on the magic markers, I guess, she said, "You want to pull the curtain?" So I said yes. Well, all of a sudden I'm in community theater. I had no idea I was going to be in theater. And then they were doing Our Town. Remember that play, Our Town? And there's a little boy.
I played the dead little paper boy in Our Town.
Exactly. Well, So the auditions came up, and my friend Michael said, "I want to play the dead little paper boy," and I said, "Well, have a good time." And he said, "No, you have to audition with me." And I said, "I don't want to play the dead little paper boy." And he said, "Yeah, but if I'm the only one who shows up and I get the role, it'll be because nobody else showed up. So go with me." So I went with him, and I got the role. But as you remember, there were two little paper boys. There was Cy Crowell and the other
Joe
Crowell.
Crowell.
See that? You remember? And so I got the one with more lines.
Yeah.
But, one had more lines. And so all of a sudden I was acting. I didn't start out to be an actor. I didn't start out to be in theater. And I was acting. And then, but I was an artist kid, right? And I loved Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
I just loved Andy Warhol. And there was an ad.
He was
in the
also
paper.
Artistic.
He was autistic. Yes, he was autistic. And he lived with his mother. Another whole story. He lived with his Polish mother, and he let her color in the pictures, you know. So yeah, I drew a picture, color it in. She colored in pen. It's a lovely thing. Kept her busy, and she made him Polish food. So there was an ad in the paper that Andy Warhol was doing a play, and there were going to be auditions at this place called La Mama. What the fuck did I know? So I said, but I could maybe meet Andy Warhol. And I've been in theater. I've been in the community theater. I've been in theater.
I played the dead little paper.
I played the dead little paper. And it said you prepare a monologue. And so I prepared, and you will understand this. With that red hair, you'll understand this. I came in and did Juliet's speech from the balcony scene of Romeo and Juliet. Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden plus be dead. Yes. So I go into this audition, and they're screaming. I'm doing Juliet, and there was this little fat kid. I was 16 years old, doing Juliet, and here are these underground, arty farty underground people, Jackie Curtis, the Hollywood Lonnie kind of people, and all that. And I got cast in the show. Like I said, say yes. Just say yes.
This reminds me of my own. I have my own story similar to this, and then it makes me think about like one of the reasons why your presence in the world has been important to me. When I started auditioning after college, there were, my musical theater teachers encouraged me to find songs that were more neutral, more, broad. And so I was singing men's tenor songs from 1776, and I hated the material, and I delivered the song like, whatever, I'm singing.
How many times can you sing Mama Look Sharp?
Exactly.
Mama, shut up. Die already.
Eventually, I just decided I'm going to sing a song that I know works well for my voice. And it was Everybody's Girl from Steel Pier. And that's what started landing me roles. And I mostly, before Drag Race, when I was acting in Seattle, the roles that I played were either, prepubescent boys or middle-aged women. And that's what I always wanted to do. I started drag at 15 and always wanted to be an actor. And I was like, there's got to be a way that I can be an actor in drag. And that's what you've done you originated Edna Turnblad in Hairspray.
Divine. My sister Divine.
Divine originated it, of course, in the movie, but the Edna in the movie and the Edna in the musical, I think they're pretty distinct. I mean, they of course come from the same place, but to originate it in the musical and think about where Hairspray is at today, and the fact that you did that show for 2 years, nonstop, no vacations, and I think that was one of the moments where I think people started to look at drag and realize that it can be, genuine art. It doesn't have to, sure, there's the novelty of a man being dressed as a woman on stage in front of a mostly straight audience, but you played the character earnestly. You played the character the way it was written, and it wasn't about you being a man dressed as a woman. It was about you telling the story of Edna Turnblad in the context of Hairspray.
I'll tell you, one of the real shocking moments for me not shocking, because I kind of believed in it. I believed in it anyway, but shocking that I was right, because I'm very seldom right. I was doing Hairspray, and I was invited to be in the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Day Parade as Edna. Edna dressed as Mrs. Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And they built a float, and we had this big 1950s car, and the three girls that played the dynamites in the show were going to sing my backup, and I was dressed as Mrs. Santa Claus. You can find it online. And I sang it. They wrote a song for me called Santa Knows, like, you better be good because Santa knows. and there I am is there anything more American than the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Day Parade? I mean, so there I am riding on top of this float in the Macy's Day Parade as Mrs. Santa Claus. No protest.
Oh, wow.
No nasty letters. No booze on the street. No Proud Boys showing up and threatening with the gun. No Donald Trump. I think Donald was there. I think he was playing an elf. But you fill him up with some helium and you let him go, and he just shoots around the room. But yeah, I mean, and then my trust in what we do was just complete. Listen, who watches Drag Race? And by the way, Rue has very nicely asked me to come on as a judge, and I just won't do it. But I won't do it not because I don't love the show. I watch every season. I know all of you. But I won't do it because I don't want to judge anybody.
Yeah.
Our lives are so fucking hard as it is. And we're put up against you, especially in theater. When you have to audition for every role, we're up against people we love. And if you don't get a role, it's not because you weren't the best, you weren't that role. It's not that you weren't better than the person who got it. I mean, the amount of judgment in our business is so heavy that the last thing I want to do is sit there, though I really enjoy the judging. I tell Ross Matthews, I said, I love you all sitting there judging. I just couldn't do it. I would just be embarrassed to say this one was bad, this one should go home. But, and to think that Rue has got more Emmys than Oprah. I mean, more Emmys than Barbara Walters. I mean, it's amazing thing, don't you think? It's amazing. And so we think because the press, it's one thing I will agree with Donald Trump on, them fucking press is such liars, because they give those people so much air when it's not true. Those people are a little minority of noisy assholes and the press is the one who builds them up into something bigger than they are. There's such, and you can judge it by looking at the real world. Look at who watches Drag Race. Look how you all are looked at in this world. I look at how I'm looked at in this world. There's no protests against me when I appear anywhere. I mean, I'm an openly gay, atheist. I mean, I'm everything they say that these people should be against, and nobody's against me. We're just all people, So it is the press that builds up all that hatred, and they build it up because it's good for them. It's good, makes money for them, and they will not take responsibility for it.
Well, I also have to think that, people like you who created work that, gave visibility to real queer stories back in the day. I think about, I was just watching the interview with Barbara Walters when you had Torch Song Trilogy and La Cage aux Folles on Broadway. And there's Barbara talking about Torch Song Trilogy, and both news anchors are talking about it like it's a story about a traditional mother and father, a monogamous relationship that spans many years, but there's one hitch, and they use the word hitch, like, but here we go, get this, they're gay. And and the idea of, a monogamous gay couple being earnestly portrayed on stage was just so mind-blowing that Barbara Walters had to, let's stop and talk about, are there monogamous gay people out there?
Wait. But Jinkx, there's two things, because you got a lot of stuff in that little thing there. But there's two things going on there. First, the Barbara Walters, which we should gossip about, and I have the whole story in the book, the whole thing. And for any of you listeners, it's perennially on YouTube. You can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always look it up on YouTube. But the other thing is how attacked I was by the gay community, by these people who said, we just fought for gay rights so we can go out and fuck in the streets. So we can go have backroom bars and we can have the bands and all that. And you're telling us we have to get married and have children. You're just you're a horrible person. You're just a phony heterosexual. And so I was more attacked by gay people than I was by straight people. And it was so funny because I've never really wanted to get married, and I certainly didn't want to have children. Once I had Matthew Broderick, you look what it did to my body. Just stretched everything right out. And once you've had to hang out with children, you don't really want them anymore. The only reason they make babies cute is because otherwise people would just leave them on the street. I mean, they're so noisy. But anyway, they're noisy, they're annoying, they cost so much money. Who needs them? But the idea was choice. That's what I was always about. If you want, I was brought up in a family with love and commitment and my brother was also. No one's shocked that he turned out to want to be married and have children and all that, but they're totally shocked that I would. Why? Because I like dick. I mean, does that change that makes you not a human being anymore? So that was the bigger fight. The bigger fight was we can be anything we want. Heterosexuals, you don't have to get married and have children. Gay people, you can get married and have children. Yeah. The idea is you should be able to choose and you should be able Now, on the Barbara Walters front, what most people don't realize, of course, is that Barbara and I were friends. We knew each other socially. My press agent and one of the producers of Torch on Broadway was like one of her best friends. So I used to go to her apartment. I mean, we'd go for drinks, and we got up on that stage. And it is so funny to watch the video. And she was like talking to me like she'd never met a creature like this before. And you could see me like staring at her like, "Are you in there, Barbara? Are you in there?" I mean, and so I answered her questions, but she asked, "Who asked you? Shut up, you're banned." Let's take that as a real life lesson, you and I, Jinkx. You gotta have fun because you don't know what telephone calls about to come through, right? I mean, shouldn't that be our lesson for the day? Let's have fun because the phone may ring.
The phone may ring and you never know who's on the other end. You mentioned so much that I think it's important for people to remember that it takes all of these stories together to create the progress that we're experiencing these days. It takes having the stories of like gay people can be, in the back rooms at bars. And yes, we have every right to live our lives, having as much sex as we want. And if they so choose, they can be monogamous and have children. And, there's the elements of heteronormativity and what's praised over this or that. But it takes all of that together to move us forward. It's almost like, to me, it's kind of like, maybe queer people felt abandoned by you by, going on television and talking about monogamy and what I loved is you called it human words. It's not like gay words versus straight words, monogamy and commitment and love.
So come back to that. You actually said in what you were just saying that heterosexuality is normal.
Heteronormativity, yeah. That's
I would not say that. I would say that homosexuality is normal. Heterosexuality is normal. Homosexuality is normal. I know abnormal. I have the phone numbers of abnormal, and I could give them to you. But you're really talking about the majority. Because the majority is this way. Well, the majority doesn't make what's normal. The majority makes what the majority makes. You
Yeah.
know, it's not being gay is normal. I did a lot of research to write a play called Casa Valentina that was
Mhm.
about heterosexual transvestites. They were men in the 50s and 60s who'd go up to the Catskills and spend the weekend dressing up as women. They
Yeah.
believed they believed they had a woman inside. They called it
Mhm.
the girl within. These were
Mhm.
mostly married men with children and blah blah blah. Some of the wives came up, some of the wives wanted no part of it, but they go and they would live out this way. Well, when I heard about them and when I started writing about them, I figured, oh, this is going to be this little niche group. You know, it'll be fun to write about them, blah, blah, blah. Mary Louise. None of them did it. Not two of them did it for the same reason. Not
Mhm.
two of them. One did it because they liked the feel of the silk on their body. One,
Mhm.
wanted to look in the mirror. One only liked photographs. One wanted to have sex with men because I'm now a heterosexual woman. So, of course, I would want to have sex with men. Others wanted nothing to do with sex. Uh, they were as different. And I mean, and you're talking about a little tiny niche group. So if this little
Mhm.
tiny niche group doesn't have two people the same, how do you then say heterosexuals are normal?
Yeah.
Every heterosexual I know is different. Some like it up the ass, some don't. It's fine with me, honey. Have another drink. It's you know, it's there's
So
no
maybe in the queer community, we should replace the idea of heteronormativity with homonormativity,
no because
or
normal
we
is
can
the
just
wrong
call it
thing.
normal. It's
Normal
the
is
normal part.
there is
Yeah.
no normal because there is no two of us who are exactly alike. The
Yeah.
church would love to make everybody alike. That's what they do. That's what they
Hmm.
do. That's their business. Their business is to make everybody alike. To like, and we're all in this, and it because it's a way to rule people, to give them
Yeah.
rules that they have to follow and all that. But there's no two people in that church who are exactly alike. I mean, it's just, why don't we just accept being human beings and that we're all different human beings with different needs? And it doesn't make us good, it doesn't make us bad, as long as we're not hurting anybody else or forcing our views on anyone else. And every church I know does force their views on everyone else. Um, well, but I'm saying you can't say I'm right and you're wrong. So I'm
Absolutely.
right for me
Yeah.
and you're right for you. And that's just gay with me. But 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 normal is just such a useless term. You can say
Absolutely.
majority, you can say we
Yeah.
live in a heterosexual majority nation. That's true.
Yeah.
But you give a straight man enough drink. Well, we all know that.
Oh yeah, my tired old go-to drag queen joke is
Yeah.
spaghetti straight until you get it hot and wet, you know?
Thank you. Thank you, sister. Testify. Testify, sister.
So yeah, I mean, I think, over the years of telling all the different stories, that's how we get to where we are today, where everyone on Grindr is in an open relationship, and and we know now in the community, and we probably knew then, but we talk about it now, that there is, there's commitment and monogamy are not the same exact thing. You
No.
can be committed to a person without being monogamous. You can be monogamous to a person and not really feel that committed to them, you
and
know?
it's got to be okay between those two people. And if it
Mhm.
is okay between those two people, and one isn't lying, then, as we say in Yiddish, "Geh gesinnt and sei gesinnt." Go in good health and come in good health. Have a good time. But if one's unhappy, one's unhappy. And to
Mhm.
make your happiness out of what is normal is never going to make you happy. All
Mm.
studies that the happiest people around are heterosexual with a job, not a career, a job.
Mm.
They belong to a church and they're in a committed relationship. And the reason is because they have their schedule worked out, they have their lives worked out, they don't question anything. And so you're happy. If you don't
Yeah.
question anything, but if you wake up in the morning, you go, "Why is that?" You're in trouble. Well, I'd rather be in trouble. I'd rather ask questions. I'd rather live a life of asking questions.
Oh yeah.
But let's get off the who sucks dick and who doesn't. Let's talk about gender for a minute.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other thing. We used to think of homosexuality and heterosexuality, and gender was sort of on the side.
Well, yeah, we used to think that gender walked hand in hand with one's sexuality, and that's just not the case. Your gender and your gender expression is completely separate from your sexuality. And you've talked a bit about straight drag queens. We've got a straight drag queen on Drag Race right now.
And what have we got on Jeopardy? And what do we have as the Jeopardy champion?
Oh yeah, we have
Amy.
our first Amy, who how many episodes is it now? Like 30 something episodes. 35 episodes. She's the Jeopardy champion. And we are talking Jeopardy is like this is what my grandma used to watch when she was around. Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. And when I think about all the grandmothers across America seeing this trans woman win time and time again, probably blowing all kinds of expectations that people who have never encountered a trans woman, a trans person in their life, I think about how major that is. And it's something
It's
as
beyond
simple
major.
as just being good at Jeopardy.
It's
That's all it
unbelievable.
is.
It's beyond major. I loved what she put up. I don't know if you saw it. We had a little exchange between the two of us. She had put up, she said, I want to thank everyone who has written to me to tell me that I'm a man. Thank you very much. It never occurred to me. And so I will take this, she made some comment like that. And I wrote back and I said, I cannot imagine a better answer from her than this. I couldn't be prouder of her if she was my own daughter. And she got all verklempt over that. But I say, America sits down. Remember, television is what's so great about RuPaul's Drag Race, what's so great about her on Jeopardy, that television is so intimate because most people are watching in their underwear. They're sitting at home with their hand down their pants, diddling a little or drinking a beer, watching on the television. They live in a 4-foot by 6-foot room, but they have an 18-foot television, and they're watching TV on this giant screen, and there's a transgender woman being treated as a woman, being treated with respect, answering questions that I couldn't dream of answering if I lived 180 years and had the book in front of me. If you let me look it up on Wikipedia, I still couldn't answer it. And winning millions of dollars. How is that going to change the world? Unbelievable. There was a movie. Do you remember a movie called The Celluloid Closet?
No, I don't.
Vito Russo wrote a book. He's long past now, but he wrote a book called The Celluloid Closet, and it was all about early Hollywood, the stuff you were talking about before, and gays in Hollywood and all that, and early movies, and it was a whole study. And you should go to the bookstore and steal it, because it's a very expensive book. And anyway, after Vito died, they made a movie of it. Lily Tomlin, who's one of his dearest friends, produced it, and we all raised the money for it and all this shit. But anyway, in the movie, there's a moment where, and of course this didn't happen, it was edited together, where they ask Arthur Lawrence, who he was. Arthur Lawrence, he wrote The Way We Were and Gypsy and West Side Story and all that. And we did La Cage together. He directed La Cage that I wrote. So they asked him, what do you think of sissies? I hate sissies. They give us all a bad name, and sissies. If it wasn't for sissies, we'd get some respect around here. And they cut to me and said, "What do you think?" He says, "I love them. I love sissies. I love them. I love them. I love them." Because no matter what, people are looking at them, and they're enjoying them on some level, and they make it okay to be gay. I'm not scared of that guy who's the sissy in an old movie. I think he's kind of funny. I like him. The Paul Lynds or the Liberace's. Liberace, how the women love Liberace. Never occurred to him. Never occurred to them that he was gay. So Rock Hudson, I used to joke with Rock Hudson because he was never really closeted. I mean, he was closeted by the Hollywood community, but he himself was never hiding that stuff. And I used to joke about how I broke my mother's heart when I said I was going out for dinner with Rock Hudson. She just broke her little heart.
Because she knew. She said, Harvey, you keep your hands off.
Yeah, you keep, he's my man. He's my man.
You know, I've talked about this for a long time, and I have people come up to me at meet and greets and tell me this. So, you know, it's tested, it's confirmed. But one of the things that I love that Drag Race has been able to do is introduce people who otherwise wouldn't have access to the queer community, introduce them to the queer community through entertainment. And that's one of the things that I've always loved about drag and why I gravitated towards drag. And I remember being at Pride festivals and hearing people talking about how the drag queens hold us back. And if straight people think we're all just drag queens and sissies, they're not going to it takes all of us in the community. We're not fighting for one type of queer person to have rights and freedoms. We're fighting for the entire community. So, and if drag queens are able to welcome people in and show them, some glitter and some entertainment and sing them a song, and welcome them in that way, and then show, like you said, show the people that we're nothing to be afraid of. If Amy on Jeopardy changes people's minds because they always thought one thing about what trans women are or one thing about what queer people are, if Amy going on Jeopardy, winning 35 episodes of Jeopardy changes minds, that's all it takes is just people being themselves
exactly.
Loudly in public.
It's exposure. It's just exposure.
And
I had my cousin the queer, my mother's favorite cousin. My brother and I, when we were little kids, we called him my cousin the queer. We didn't really understand what it means or whatever, but he was gay. The scandal was not that he was gay. The scandal was that he brought a man to my bar mitzvah. The scandal was he brought a black man to my bar mitzvah. You know what I'm saying? So even in that little world, because he was so at home with being gay, it wasn't such a shock, and now they actually saw a black man at a bar mitzvah, and it was allowed, and it was okay, and the rabbi didn't have to throw things at him to make him Jewish.
Nothing happened.
We didn't have to.
It was completely uneventful.
We didn't have to cut the end of his penis off or anything. It's just he could still have the gefilte fish.
Well, I want to just take a moment to mention that, since the work that you've created, we have Ginger Minge. We had Ginger Minge singing I Am What I Am, and I'm sure everyone listening will remember that clip of Ginger Minge singing I Am What I Am, and then it cuts to you, and there you are having your moment.
Sitting with Bob the drag queen.
Yeah.
Bob the drag queen was sitting opposite me, and I'm just crying my eyes out watching them sing.
I loved that so much because it felt like such a, I don't know, it just felt like such a culmination of things. And it felt like, look at where we are right now. And it felt like such a celebration of you and your work. And then we've got Nina West playing Edna on tour right now.
I write to her every couple of days. I think of her as a daughter, of course.
Yeah,
I do think of her as a daughter.
lovely.
But and I hope people do. Besides everything else, I hope they do get the book because there's so much in it. But you have to read the story of how hard I fought to get Arthur Lawrence, who's gay, and Jerry Herman, who is gay. And those are the two people that, with me, we wrote Lagage, to put gay people in the show.
Yeah.
The two leads, when we opened on Broadway, were two of the most heterosexual human beings that have ever hit the planet. I mean, it was like, and the fights I had with Arthur I kept saying it makes a difference. I said, you could have a young actress who's the greatest, most talented, born with this unbelievable talent. She can't play a grandmother. There are things that the world hasn't shown her. There is experiences she hasn't had. The same thing with playing gay. You can play gay, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
That you went through standing up in your school and singing a song, singing the song that you chose to sing. There's a cost I went through. And that can be used. It's not that we always have to play that role, but when that role comes up, nobody could play it like we can.
Absolutely.
Nobody knows that.
A better sentiment on, because we are seeing it a lot right now, and it's a constant discussion of representation and giving actors the roles that were written for them rather than giving it to the straight pretty boy. And I think about it a lot in drag. There's lots of drag roles being written now, and they call in 20 drag queens to audition for it and then give it to the pretty cis boy who's never done drag a day in their life, and you just don't have those experiences to draw from. You might give a great performance, but it's not going to be informed.
The original company of Lacage, Arthur Lawrence stuck 2 women in the drag line, and I said, "You mean you're going to have them dressed as men?" "No, they're going to be 2 of the girls." And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "This way, if any heterosexual men in the audience are attracted to the drag line, they can say, 'Well, I was attracted to the girl.'" I said, Anyway, these are the fights we have. By the way, eventually 2 gay men did finally go into Lacage. He called me up and said, "Harvey, I don't say this often. I don't say it loudly. You are right." Click.
Well, congratulations, Harvey. And the book is "I Was Better Last Night." Everything we've talked about is in the book.
And you know what that title means.
Oh yeah,
Every performer knows what that title means. Oh, honey,
I think every former drinker knows what that.
Well, there's that. My getting sober is in the book as well. I have certain questions that I ask every guest. Okay.
I'm going to ask you them now. You feel free to answer.
We only have 5 minutes.
We have 5 minutes.
Oh my God.
We have 5 minutes.
I feel the pressure. It's coming. It's crowding. It's crowding.
First question. Who is your celebrity crush today?
Oh, come back to that. There's so many beautiful men. This is a world so full of beautiful men, is it not? And
it really is.
It really is. There's so many beautiful men. I don't know. I don't know
about you, but
who's yours?
Oh well, let me. Who? I don't know.
Well, in the book,
one's coming to mind right now.
In the book, I write about being, 13 years old, and it was Richard Chamberlain. Oh God, what's his name? Sean. 007, James Bond.
Sean Connery. Sorry, Sean Connery. I could have helped with that. I was just
TV Tarzan, Ron Ely. And Luke Halpern on Flipper. Those were my crushes when I was a kid, and I actually got to tell 2 of the 3. I got to talk about it with 2 of the 3.
There's nothing like telling your crush that they're your crush in
Sean Connery. Sean Connery just sort of stared at me, and his wife finally said, "He's trying to say thank you."
I'll say my celebrity crush today is Gus Kenworthy.
I don't know who he is, but that's a good.
He was, he's an Olympic athlete who's super duper gay. Okay. And he just popped up in my mind because I think he just posted a butt picture the other day, and I was like, "Thank you, Gus. Thank you."
Thank you. Gonna put that over the toilet and dream. Yes, what other questions you ask?
My next question is, and you mentioned being atheist, but would you consider yourself spiritual in any way?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. My like a lot of AA type people, I consider my God group of drunks. People who have been there before me, walked the path, survived it, and can tell me you're fucking up. So, but yeah, I pray almost every day. Not that I think anybody out there is hearing me. It just helps me focus. It helps.
Absolutely.
And I do believe you and I are made out of the same thing. This bottle cap is made out of, where stuff doesn't get invented, doesn't get, it just changes form. It just changed, we back to dust, and then that dust becomes something else. So we and the earth and everything else are all connected. It's nothing spiritual about it. It's an actual fact that we're all connected. Yeah. And so, so why not feel like you're connected?
Absolutely.
But I don't believe in an afterlife or anything like that.
Just the act of praying, whether, like you said, it doesn't have to be that someone's listening, but the act of thinking something and then speaking it to words, that does a lot for us. Just from our mouth to our brain, from our own mouth to our own ears, that has an effect on us.
Sometimes we can learn to tell the truth that way. If we can learn to tell ourselves the truth. I mean, have you ever seen a drag queen who can actually turn to a mirror and not all of a sudden adjust their entire face?
Oh, no, it's habitual, and in every reflection. It doesn't have to be a mirror.
Right. So it can't be. So if we can't even look at ourselves in the mirror, how can we listen to the truth in ourselves? You actually have to work at it. So it's spiritual in that
it takes
way.
practice.
It does.
Your final question is,
oh my God,
what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I don't do that because I live this life of that. Because I actually got, Jinkx Monsoon, just between the two of us. Don't tell nobody. But with this voice and this face, this fag starred on Broadway as a woman in a multi-million-dollar Broadway musical and won the fucking Tony for it. You think I'm gonna bother with karaoke? Up yours. I'm Carol fucking Channing, and I don't care who knows it.
Perfect answer.
No,
thank you so much.
I was just writing to somebody that I can't get. I get stuck on music, but I wish I had a gorgeous voice. I really do. I actually know what I sound like. Not in my own head. I don't sound like that at all. But in my own head, I'm Kristen Chenoweth.
I would take iconic over gorgeous. Okay. When you think of the people who have stood the test of time, they're not always the best singers, but we know their voice.
And
Harvey, we will always know your voice.
I'll tell you a really quick story. That's also in the book already. When we were doing a revival of La Cage aux Folles, and Jerry Herman said to me, "Thank you for letting me cast all these people. This is the best group of singers I've ever had." And I said, "Singer? Who cares about singers in musical theater?" So he said, "Well, I'm a composer. I do." I said, "Are you telling me you would rather have had Montserrat Caballé play Dolly instead of Carol Channing?" And he said, "Absolutely." It freaked me out. I said, "You're lying. You're lying." He said, "No, I'm a composer. I want to hear my music." Well, when I had to do La Cage aux Folles, they were putting me in a dress. I looked in the mirror and I said, "Well, I may never sound like Montserrat Caballé, but I look like her." Thank you for having me, Jinkx Monsoon. It's been a lovely time.
Thank you so much.
Please accept our door prizes. They're at the door. Just open that door behind you and you'll find 3 naked men and an Olympic torch. What you do with them is your business.
Thank you so much, Harvey. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and go win 4 more Tonys for us, okay?
All right. Bye, little cookies.
Well, thank you so much, Harvey, for telling us all your stories. And if you want to hear more about the stories we talked about today on Hi Jinkx, be sure to pick up your copy of Harvey Fierstein's book, I Was Better Last Night, coming out March 1st. Thank you all so much for listening to Hi Jinkx here on the Forever Dog and Moguls of Media Network. My name is Jinkx Monsoon, and we have new episodes every Wednesday, so make sure to search for Hi Jinkx on your favorite podcast app and hit subscribe. You can follow me at The Jinkx on Instagram or at Jinkx Monsoon everywhere else, and I'll see you next Wednesday for some more Hi Jinkx.
Forever Dog.
To listen to Hi Jinkx ad-free and one day early, sign up for Forever Dog Plus at foreverdogpodcasts.com/plus. Hi Jinkx is produced by Forever Dog and Moguls of Media, aka M.O.M. Hosted by me, Jinkx Monsoon, produced by Joseph Shepard, editing and sound design by Will Pitts, and executive produced by Willem Belli, Alaska Thunderfuck, Brett Boehm, Big Dipper, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey.